So I heard a story. Y'all know I love a good story. You may have heard this one too. It was about this family that went to church. They were going to a new church. They hadn't been to this one in a while, maybe ever. And they walk inside and they have their little boy by the hand. And they let him go while they were in the foyer, and he starts wandering around. And the little boy sees this big plaque. And it had names on it and it had pictures on it. And he was amazed by all the pictures on that plaque. And the little boy stopped, and this guy walked over who went to the church on a regular basis, and he said, "Welcome. Do you like the pictures?" And the little boy said, "Yeah, but what are they?" And the man said, "These are all the members of our church, the men and the women who died in service, and this is our way of honoring them." And the little boy looked at him for a minute, and then he said, "Did they die in the early service or the 10:30 one?" You have to wonder sometimes about how children view the things we put up, especially without an explanation. And this morning, we're going to talk about service, but we're going to talk about sacred service. Not how many people might pass away over the next hour. Anyway, so I have a question for you this morning. How many of you brought a gift with you when you came today? Raise hands high. Some of us did. Some of you are thinking of something you brought literally. So what is the biggest gift you brought today? You, exactly. That is the most important gift that you bring every day. When I wake up every morning, I get the opportunity of deciding what I'm doing with the gift that is me. You get to as well. And some days when I look in the mirror after I've drugged myself out of bed and gotten into the bathroom, and I'm thinking, wow, this might not be a very gifted sort of day. But reality is we are a gift to this world, no matter how we're feeling, no matter what we're doing, no matter where we are. We are the best gift that we can bring to this earth. We are the only way that love is spread across this earth. There's not a plan other than us. Jesus came, according to the story, and is gone, sent the Holy Spirit, which dwells in every one of us, and we're it now. So how do we show God's love on this earth? We do it through sacred service. Howard Thurman is an American theologian, scholar, and civil rights leader, and this is a quote from him. It says, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." I love this quote. The world doesn't need just a lot of people to do stuff. A world needs people who are doing what it is we know we are called to do. What it is that is ours to do, what it is that brings us alive on this earth. So I ask you to take a minute and decide, what brings you alive? What gives you life every morning? What is it that through the day when things get tougher and more difficult, bring you back to life, bring you up to doing the thing that you know is yours to do? Sacred service is when we know our what and our why. What it is I'm supposed to be doing and why I'm doing it. I have a lot of friends who are in their 80s who haven't figured this out yet. I have a lot of friends who are in their 70s and 60s and 50s and 40s and 30s who haven't figured it out either. It's okay. We're all still working on it. We're all still getting there. But wow, what a change it is in your life when you know exactly what it is you came to this earth to do. I see Ron sitting back there. A friend of both of ours, Reverend Lois Christopher, who is an LUT, who made her transition not long ago. Every time I spoke, she sent me an email after the service to encourage me on my journey. She's 98, by the way, so please don't tell me you can't figure out how to use email and other things. That was a part of her ministry, was to support. But a couple of years ago, she sent me a message, and she said in it, after encouraging me, I don't know why I'm still alive. She's 96 then. And she followed it by telling me she had just finished her second book. Not reading it, writing it. She's just finished her book. She's letting me know through email that she's encouraging me on my journey and what I'm doing. And she's not sure why she's here. I get that, because sometimes we get tired. And sometimes we need those other people to lean on. But when she's telling me that, and I'm thinking about the fact that up to COVID, she taught classes every week in her home. She took the time to go online to send me a message when I might have done nothing except said the mission statement and led a prayer. That was who she was. She knew deep down why she was on this earth. And she lived that life. Knowing what you're supposed to be doing is your sacred service on this earth. Second slide says, and I heard this from Reverend Darlene Strickland, as long as you have skin on, you have something to be expressed and discovered. I love that too. As long as I have this skin suit on, there is something for me to be doing and to figure out. For some of us, that's again hard to believe because we can get kind of tired. And when we get to that tired point, or that point where we're just exhausted, or sometimes we're just ticked off, then we can stop. And we can gather ourselves back together. We can recenter ourselves with the Christ that is within us. And then we can get back to being busy doing what it is that's ours to do. Because as long as we have this skin on, we know exactly what it is we're supposed to be doing. And if you don't know, silence and meditation are a great way to start. Spend some time being quiet, sitting comfortably, and listening to your own self and finding out what it is that is yours to do. Maybe it's just spending time in prayer. Maybe it's encouraging other people. I have this team who send me messages all through the week. Just people, just friends, like Miss Shirley Mix, who also is 98 years old and was here for our Wednesday night class, who sends me messages every couple of days just to encourage me. My friend Diani Luz, who is in Puerto Rico and who sends me messages. Tammy Sissel, who y'all know. Reverend Tracy Quillen, who is in Unity of Palm Harbor, who sends me letters, actually. And we're just amazed that we both know what those still are. But it's such a wonderful blessing to me when she sends those. People who encourage me, who stay in touch with me and stay in touch with their own creative side and do the things that they are guided to do. So when we know what it is, when we've heard in meditation and silence what it is that we're to do, our job is to turn around and do it. Romans 8:12 through 14 in the Message version of Scripture says, so don't you see that we don't owe this old do-it-yourself life one red cent? There's nothing in it for us, nothing at all. The best thing to do is to give it a decent burial and get on with your new life. God's Spirit beckons. There are things to do and places to go. Now let me be very clear. This verse does not say to off yourself so that you can move to that next level and enjoy it. It's saying while we're here on this earth, we let go of all those past things. We learn to release and let go. We let loose of all those things that are holding us back from being exactly who we're supposed to be and doing what we're supposed to do. We let go of all those things, and then I have to say it sounds kind of Dr. Seuss-ish at that point. There are things to do and places to go. And we get to choose what they are. So when I wake up each morning and look in that mirror and acknowledge that today I am a gift, I also get to decide what it is I'm going to do and what it is that I'm supposed to move forward with. In John 10:10, Jesus said, "The thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy, but I have come that you might have life and have it how? Abundantly." This isn't supposed to be torture on earth. It's supposed to be abundant life and abundant living. That is exactly what we are called to do and what we are called to live. It's not saying, again, that we can't acknowledge occasionally that this is a thing that happened in my past, but we can't live in that. We can't dwell on that. We have to let it go and release it and move forward into the most abundant living that we can do, because every one of us has things to do and places to go. God's Spirit is indeed beckoning us to live as our best and highest selves. There's a Sanskrit word called seva, S-E-V-A, service. It means to express yourself in service to the world. Not expressing ourselves in a way that's going to get us recognition or people are going to notice I exist. Service to the world. And Siva's not talking about a sacrificial service where I give it all up and become a monk. It's talking about us being selfless in what we're doing what the world needs now. And we do that by figuring out what it is that makes us come alive. What is it that brings you to life? What is it that you need to be doing? When Ram Dass was training and working on becoming the mystic that most of us knew him to be, he had a guru, and his guru said that this man asked him more questions than anybody he had ever met in his life. And one of the questions he asked him one time was simple. What do I do to raise my kundalini, which means to raise my life force, my energy, or as Unity would say it, to raise my consciousness? How do I do that? And his mentor said, and his guru said, feed everyone, serve everybody. Simple, right? Feed everyone, serve everybody. That is what we are called to do as well. That is what we are called to do. To think beyond ourselves and to see the world in front of us. There's a lot of crap going on in our world. I was told to make sure I used that word. There's a lot of stuff going on in our world. How do we change the world? That's a legit question. Anybody want to throw an answer out there? Thank you. We change ourselves. That is the only thing we can do. Can't change you, can't change anybody else. I change me. And as I start to change me, then we can change our world. When we are drawn to do something because of ego, then our ego can block our process to getting to our heart. So we have to move around that. And Siva says that we step right around it and we go forward to bless the world that we live in. It's letting our light shine. It's not playing small. It's being who you are. Not hiding your light under a basket, but shining your light for the world to see, to make the world better. One of my favorite movies is a musical called The Greatest Showman. And in it, there's a song called Come Alive. It says, you stumble through your days, got your head hung low. Your sky's a shade of gray like a zombie in a maze. You're asleep inside, but you can shake awake. Come alive, go and light your light. Let it burn so bright, reaching up to the sky, and it's open wide because you're electrified. And the world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you thought you could ever be because you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And you know you can't go back again to live the way you were living before because you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. So come alive. Again, my favorite movies, I've seen it a lot. I can quote parts of it for you. But one of my favorite parts, and one of the parts that I think is most pivotal, is right before these oddities and freaks that Barnum had gathered together are about to go on stage. They were frightened and scared. And when I saw the movie, the freak that amused me the most was the person who had 3 tattoos on him. Oh, dear Lord. 3 whole tattoos. And he was a freak in that time. Just go let that one go. You can think on that one for a little while as you walk outside and see all of us. But that was the way they were. They were scared. They were frightened to walk out onto that stage. And he looked at the person who was playing the part, the ringmaster did, who was playing the part of the bearded lady, and said, "They're waiting for you." And her response was, "For who?" And he said, "They're waiting for you, and you don't know it yet, but they're going to love you." Beloveds, you may not know it yet, but the world is waiting for us, and they're going to love you. Every time it gets difficult, every time it becomes hard to do things, I remember one of the first things I learned in Unity, which was this or something better. Because that's the way the universe works for us. The universe is planning for every one of us to get the very best, and so that we can live for our best and highest. So for the next slide, I decided I was just going to wear it today. So if you want to know who you are and what you're supposed to be doing, this is it. Be you. You don't need to be anybody else. You don't need to try to be like anybody else. Emulating somebody is good. Imitating them is not. You want to be you, and you want to reach out as you. I found my voice when I decided to be my big boy, cisgender, gay man self, and take that human to work, and take that human to church, and take that human everywhere else. And honestly, I don't care what anybody else thinks about it. So now you get to decide, who are you? Who is it that you need to be? What is it that you need to let go of to be yourself, to be exactly who you are? You get to decide. How will you know if it's sacred service? It's really simple. Sacred service seems effortless, and it seems like there's not a lot going on, and you're just doing this so simply and wonderfully, and it's so easily done. Where in the background, you might know that there's a lot of tension going on there, but you make it look effortless and seamless. That's sacred service. Sacred service is when you go out and move forward and you start performing helpful acts to other people. How many of you had anything to do with putting on this worship service today? Will you stand up? If you had anything to do with putting on this worship service, would you stand up for a minute? So everybody's standing up in the back, just even though they can't because they're working. We have all of our folks down here. Thank you. So let me help some more of you stand up. How many of you do anything on the grounds? How many of you help clean the buildings? How many of you set up for hospitality? How many of you take down, clean it up? How many of you are prayer chaplains? Because sacred service is praying for others and holding space for all of us. How many of you had anything to do with putting this service together? Because y'all may not know, Casey and I did not sit down and plan this all out. Somebody does that for us. We're getting there. Ushers, ambassadors, those who work on committees that you'll see outside passing out the snack packs and other things today. Those members of our board, our musicians, our guardians, our greeters, those who take up the offering, those who clean up the church and clean up Hightower Hall, those who make those little slips of paper that we grab on our way out the door. Y'all know somebody really has to do that and then cut those little boogers, right? The songs we sing, somebody wrote them. Everything that is involved here, including the social media and email, involves somebody. So how many of you prayed before you walked in the building today? Come on, stand it up. And here's the catch. The rest of you showed up. That's all a part of putting a service together. You can all be seated. Thank you. But what I want us to see is, for some of us, that is volunteering, right? For some of us, that is sacred service. That is doing what we know at this moment in this time we are called to do. That's a part of everything that we do in this church, sacred service. How do you know if it's not sacred service? Sacred service is never a burden. And when it is, stop. Because at that part, you're not doing what you're called to do any longer. Sometimes we volunteer to do things because there's nobody else to do it, right? We do. It's okay. We all do it. But reality is, when it is sacred service and it's not feeding my soul, then I need to stop. I need to quit what I'm doing and I need to move on to my next thing. So even though it might seem like volunteering, for a lot of us, this isn't. This is our sacred service. Our prayer chaplains had training yesterday. They go through 40 hours of training. Right? Still 40 hours? Close to it anyway. That's a lot. That's sacred service. That's not volunteering to do something. That's a calling. That's the prayer chaplains that we have holding space for us and filling in all those blank spots where we need love and we need compassion and we need prayers. Our calling is to meet those around us. Mahatma Gandhi said the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service of others. The fastest growing churches in the U.S. and the fastest growing churches in unity are community churches. So as you walk out today, look around. This is our community. We're going to be here. We're going to stay here. Then we need to be working with the community that we're in the middle of. And when we start reaching out to the community, Jackie, you want to come on up too, please, hon? Then we'll know that we are doing exactly what we were called to do. We'll know that we are doing all that we need to do. So as our music team comes up and Jackie comes up to sing for us this morning, I want you to think about when it's difficult, when you have a struggle and you're weary, when your heart is burdened and you're having a hard time on that stormy sea. Know that the Christ within is there. The Christ within is leading you and guiding you. The Christ within is aligning you with God and letting you know exactly what it is for you to do. That Christ allows us to stand on mountains, allows us to walk on those stormy seas. And when we do that, that's a part of sacred service. And so it is, and so we are.